Section 3. Psychology and Parapsychology on the 19th of September 1977. The title of this lecture is Psychosomatic Illnesses, a lecture given by Peter Goodwin, all copyright reserved. But what are psychosomatic illnesses? Can anybody tell me? Yes, that's right. That's right. Illness is the mind. There are two types of illnesses which you can have. One type is called exogenetic, and the other type is called autogenetic. And an exogenetic illness is an illness, in fact, caused through an external source. An autogenetic illness is an illness caused through an internal source. So all forms of germ illnesses, which are transmitted from one person to the other by some kind of bacteria or even certain types of viruses, are exogenic illnesses. And illnesses such as psychosomatic illness caused by the mind are autogenetic. The third type of illness, which is probably halfway in between, which is caused by being allergic to certain substances. They found that coffee and tea and certain types of people can cause quite severe illnesses, especially mental illnesses, and in some cases psychosis. There are certain things that people are allergic to, and you can have to be tested for this to find out what substances you are allergic to. Hay fever, for instance, is quite often an allergy caused at certain times of the year by pollen in the air. And some people can be made very ill by this. There is a certain psychosomatic element in an allergic illness, but it is mainly exogenetic. So therefore, the two types of illnesses are exogenetic and autogenetic. And we're going to deal with the autogenetic illnesses tonight. Now, in fact, the doctor, the general practitioner who sits in his room, 70 to 80% of all the illnesses he is presented with are in fact psychosomatic. And the rest of them are either germ illnesses or special illnesses which he has to refer to a specialist. So this in fact means that 70 to 80% of people that go to the general practitioner are unlikely to get a cure for what they think they've got. Now, psychosomatic illnesses are all caused basically by the subconscious mind, and everyone has got a subconscious mind, and the reason why some people get psychosomatic and some people don't is another subject which I'll cover later in the lecture. But let's look at the types of psychosomatic illnesses that there are. And the first are those that increase or restrict the flows of body fluids. For example, blood and blood pressure and constipation and this type of thing. These are the psychosomatic illnesses which are caused by restriction or increase of fluid flows. And the second type is psychosomatic illnesses which restrict physical growth or increase physical growth. Some people do not develop hairs on their body. This would be a restriction of physical growth. Other people have abnormally large ears or noses. And although these things can, in rare cases, be caused by genetic inheritance, most of growth or retarded or increasing growth is in fact psychosomatic. It's an illness caused by the mind, caused by an internal force. Third type of psychosomatic illnesses are those concerning the predisposition towards an illness. Some people catch more colds than others. Some people, in fact, get kidney diseases, minor kidney illnesses, or liver illnesses. And we find there are certain people who have got predisposition to get these illnesses. And again, this is caused by the mind. People who have psychosomatic colds or a tendency to psychosomatic colds will tend to get infected more often than the people who without a tendency for this. So though the actual infection of the cold is caused by the germ, certain people catch the germ more easily than others because of psychosomatic causes. Now the fourth type of psychosomatic illness is a perpetuation illness. And this is mainly where people have a reluctance to heal. Some people will have wounds on their body and these will heal fairly quickly, and other people won't heal as quickly as they should, because they've got a tendency to perpetuate the illness which they've got. And this is mainly seen in the reluctance of wounds to heal. Although there are certain other diseases which take a long time to clear up, sometimes even bone injuries, because of the psychosomatic element, there is a tendency to perpetuate the injury and for the bone to take longer to heal than it should. Now the fifth type are those which are caused by hypnotism or the hypnotic effect of light. You see, when we're emotionally overwhelmed or physically knocked unconscious, there's a tendency for our subconscious minds to be filled with various word phrases and various attitudes, and when we become conscious, we're still ruled by these. And these are a form of post-hypnotic suggestion. When I did the lecture on hypnotism, you'll learn all about post-hypnotics and how things can be implanted into people's minds. But these psychosomatic illnesses are things like when as a child, somebody says to the child, you are always getting colds. And why are you always getting colds? The child gets upset, and that phrase, you are always getting colds, can go into its subconscious mind. So when that child becomes an adult, it can have a psychosomatic tendency to get more colds than it normally would just by being exposed to the bacteria. Because there's definitely a lot of statistical studies being done on this to show that certain people get more colds than others. The bacteria in the air all the time is why some people catch this cold and other people don't catch this cold. Now, basically, the subconscious mind that we're talking about can cause two types of aberration: psychosomatic illnesses and also irrational behaviour. Irrational behaviour is left to another lecture, and we're only concerned in this lecture with psychosomatic illnesses. But let's have a look at some other psychosomatic illnesses: aches and pains, migraine headaches, asthma, dermatitis, eye trouble, stomach ulcers, mouth ulcers. Some heart diseases, not all heart diseases, but some heart diseases can have psychosomatic causes, because a heart disease can be caused by blood pressure, and blood pressure is certainly a psychosomatic illness. Now, as we've all got a subconscious mind, and we've all got a tendency for psychosomatic illnesses, why do some people develop these psychosomatic illnesses all the time, and why do other people not suffer from them? And the reason is, and there's only one reason, and this is the main point of the lecture, is that a psychosomatic illness is ultimately the solution to a problem. So what happens is that people have a problem in life which they solve with a psychosomatic illness. In other words, they make themselves ill without realising it in order to get out of some conflict, get out of some stressful situation. And the most typical example of this, of course, is the stomach ulcer, or the executive ulcer, where people are so stressed by the life they lead, they seek a way to go sick, because going medically sick is unacceptable. They would be viewed as failures. They became physically ill, not being able to cope with the job. They grow themselves a stomach ulcer, which is a sure way of stopping themselves doing the job, which causes them distress. So another way, it's a way their subconscious desire to come out of the situation has caused them to actually grow this ulcer. And in fact, if you take somebody who has a protective ulcer, if you take them out of their immediate environment, the ulcer will invariably heal. Otherwise, it has to be treated as any physical illness, because it's actually there, but originally started in the mind as stress. And there's considerable evidence to show that, in fact, these psychosomatic illnesses are disturbances in the electromagnetic structure which is around the body. That is another subject again. Now, the problem that people are trying to avoid, which is the ultimate cause of the psychosomatic illness, is always concerned with another person, or at least with another life source. So in theory, you could be having a problem with a cat, or you could be having a problem with a plant. But of course, the energy flows, the living energy flows of an animal, or the living energy flows of a plant, are not all that strong, so you're unlikely to have a very big problem with your cat or your plant. But the life source which has the strongest energy flow is, of course, the human being, and the problems to which the solution is the psychosomatic illness is always one of an opposing personality. So if you have somebody at work who you are being opposed by, or if you have somebody in your home you're being opposed by, inevitably you're likely to develop a psychosomatic illness as a solution to that opposition which you are getting from the other person. Do you follow what I'm saying here? Or not? So in other words, the psychosomatic illness is a solution to a problem, but the problem I'm talking about must be a problem with another person. And there are three types of situations which I will describe here, three separate types of situations where you would expect to find somebody with a psychosomatic illness, which you can trace back to the solution of a problem, which you can trace back to a conflict, an opposing conflict with a dominant personality which you are associated with, of which there are three types. Now, this is an absolute thing. There are no variations to this. There are no long-term psychosomatic illnesses which aren't solutions to problems, and it is impossible to have a problem with a foot. You might be concerned about a book, but you wouldn't have a psychosomatic illness as a result of a solution to something to do with the book. Very unlikely with a plant, very unlikely with an animal. Because these energy flows, if there are energy flows, they're not strong enough to cause this conflict. There's always the person, usually somebody close to you, like a matrimonial partner, a son or a daughter, a father or mother, a grandfather or a grandfather. It's certainly likely to be somebody close to you, the person who's causing you the problem. Because they are opposing you, they are opposing your goals in life, your aspirations. Maybe they are validating you, they are telling you that you can't do things, they're telling you that you shouldn't do things. And the trouble with the dominant personality, which causes you to solve the problem of the dominant personality by having a psychosomatic illness, is that they're invariably right, logically. So these people usually are logically right, but emotionally they are opposing you, because your logic doesn't have to be their logic. And the son that wants to go to sea, whereas his parents want him to go to university, that might not be logical, but nevertheless it is emotionally correct and emotionally right, because that is what the son wants to do. So the parent who is opposing him would cause that lad to develop a psychosomatic illness as a solution to the problem that the lad cannot oppose his guardian or his parents on the grounds of logic, so he develops an emotional opposition which turns out to be a psychosomatic illness. It can also turn out to be irrational behaviour, going around the twist. I'm only talking about the class of opposition which results in psychosomatic illness. So this dominant personality situation can also cause people to become mentally ill. So the solution to the problem doesn't have to be a psychosomatic illness. All I've said is either irrational behaviour or a psychosomatic illness, a problem with the dominant personality you're close to. And I'm only covering here where it happens to be a psychosomatic illness. And people who've had psychosomatic illnesses for some time can in fact turn those psychosomatic illnesses into true medical illnesses. So what started off as a psychosomatic illness can become, over a period of time, a chronic and dangerous illness. And it may well be that certain strains of cancer have some kind of element in this. I'm not saying that all cancer is a psychosomatic illness by far, but nevertheless there are people who have got a predisposition to cancer, and certainly the predisposition theory here applies to any illness whatsoever. It may well be that cancer is a virus which is in all of us. And the question is, why do some of us get cancer and some of us not? And that's still to be proved. Now, let us have a look at the three types of dominant personalities you can come up with. Now, the first one is the one that is in your immediate environment. And those are likely to be the matrimonial partner, the father, or the mother, or the son, or the daughter. The one that's in the immediate environment. And the only way for that person to get over that psychosomatic illness is either to handle the dominant personality. And we call these dominant personalities negative cyclones. And explain why in other lectures why we use that term. We call them negative cyclones because they are negatising the person who they're connected to. And the only way to handle that person is either to become the dominant personality yourself, which is not very easy, or disconnect them. If you try to meddle with these people, the only result would be a worsening of the psychosomatic illness. Because these people, in fact, encourage you to commit acts against them. They encourage you to feel guilty for what you're doing against them, and they will encourage you to attack them, and then to wallow in your own guilt if you're successful. So they will encourage you to lie to them and trick them, so that you will feel guilty over your behaviour. And quite often they're moralists. They're people who are followers of high churches and fanatical bodies and this type of thing. Now, the other type of dominant personality you get is the one that you're no longer connected to, and who you're no longer seeing, but somebody way back in your childhood who you've forgotten who may be dead. And that is somebody like a nanny, or a grandfather, or a great-grandfather who may have long since been dead. But in the back of your mind, that person is still a dominant personality. And the problem there is that you may have somebody in your immediate environment who reminds you of that person subconsciously, and therefore you're reacting in your immediate environment to somebody who's quite innocent, because they remind you in your subconscious mind of a past dominant personality. They could cause the same manifestation of the same psychosomatic illness. And the only way to get around that is for you to discover for yourself who the dominant personality was in the past. And we find that those of us who believe they have lived before, can quite often come up with a dominant personality in another lifetime. There's quite a common occurrence in fact. So it is somebody in the past who was a dominant personality, or you think is a dominant personality in your life, but they must be re-stimulated in the immediate environment. So maybe you have a friend at work, and that friend may well re-stimulate somebody 15 years ago who's no longer in your life, who's a dominant personality. You could well develop a psychosomatic illness as a result of association with that friend. And the only way to rid yourself of that one is to identify in the past who that dominant personality was. And to make a mental note, if you like, that you're no longer connected to that person, you no longer hold the views, you no longer oppose that person's views, and then the psychosomatic illness would just go away and vanish. Otherwise, it could well develop into quite a serious illness. There's a lot of people walking around with illnesses which they could be released from if they either disconnected from the immediate dominant personality or negative cyclone in their life, or discovered who the dominant personality was way back in their childhood and made a mental note that they were no longer connected to that person, had identified them. So the secret is to identify the dominant personality in your past if you're suffering from a string of psychosomatic illnesses. Now, people who have been suffering from psychosomatic illnesses over a period of time can in fact, either in case 1 or case 2, become so ill that everyone in their environment is making them worse. And these people are the people that the psychiatrist sees, and the people that are in fact often admitted to mental hospitals, full of aches and pains, and they have all kinds of medical symptoms. They're usually very exhausted, they're usually undernourished. It's because of cases 1 and cases 2 that they've got themselves into state 3, where everybody they feel is opposing them, and they're really quite paranoid about it. They feel that everybody's a threat to them, and they can't distinguish between friend and foe. And that is the, if you like, the tertiary stage of a type 1 and a type 2. You'll find a lot of old people there in this state, as a result of going through life and being overwhelmed and coming up against opposition. They tend to degenerate to type 3. And you also find people doing adolescence and going to this state. The main thing that you can do with these people who are up against these dominant personalities or these negative cyclones is not to send them to the psychiatrist, it's not to treat them with drugs, it's to put them out in wide open spaces. And if they're going to be given any drugs at all, then it shouldn't be anything else other than mild sedatives. And to give them rest and to give them food, proper food, and to give them the right amount of sleep, you'll find that they will very quickly, in fact, revert to the type 2 or to the type 1. And when they get to the type 2 and the type 1, if you can identify who the original dominant personalities were who got them into this state. To give you an example, there's Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor, and Richard Burton continually, as a result of his relationship with Elizabeth Taylor, after being together for 6 months, he was getting himself into type 3, at which point he would take up the bottle and drink himself into oblivion, which resulted in Elizabeth Taylor asking him to leave the matrimonial home, which means he got away from the source of the dominant personality, and then he gave up drink, and then he recovered and went back to type 2, and then immediately rejoined her and went back to the same thing again. It wasn't that Elizabeth Taylor was a nasty person, it was merely that this was the effect she had on Richard Burton. And being in her presence over a period of time caused him to become a type 3 personality. And a lot of these people who are type 3 appear to be mentally ill, they appear to be physically ill, quite often they take up alcohol or some other drug. It's only as a result of this dominant personality which has been battling them for some time. You find that where there are matrimonial breakdowns, you find that the party who is suffering is quite often the type 3 as a result of their association with their matrimonial partner. It's very wrong to treat people with psychiatric drugs and electric shock and put them into mental homes, because all they really need is to put on a farm or to go for walks, to go down to the seaside, and we give them plenty of rest, fresh air, 3 good meals a day, vitamins. And if they're very, very bad, only in the initial stages, and I do emphasise this, to give them sedatives to get over the shock. But once they are away from these dominant personalities, their rate of recovery is so great that really you don't need to do anything else other than get them away from the originating dominant personality. The reason that psychiatrists appear to get cured is that when these people go into the mental home, this means that they are away from their immediate environment, so they're away from the source of the person who's making them ill, or the person who's caused them to develop the psychosomatic illnesses, and therefore they get better. Not because of the treatment that the psychiatrist has given them, but merely because they've been got away by virtue of their collapse and been taken off to hospital. So after they're in the hospital for 3 or 4 weeks, they normally recover, they're normally released, they quite often go back to the same dominant personality because they haven't really understood the cause of their condition, and the cycle happens over and over again. And it's only in cases where they don't return to the dominant personality that their stability is going to in fact get better. So people who are in this state don't think the psychiatrist locate the dominant personality if it's obvious and get them away from that person. You see, even if they don't know who the dominant personality is, even if the dominant personality is in the past, getting them away from the person who is re-stimulating that dominant personality will be a cure in itself. And the tragedy is that there are many people who could live or be associated with other people where the person that appears to be the cause of the trouble, appears to be the dominant personality, isn't the real cause of the trouble, but it's somebody in the past, somebody a long, long way back. And if they can only locate who that was, then their marriage or their relationships in the immediate environment could be healed and could be quite pleasant for them. But it's this past dominant personality which they don't know who it is, which causes the breakdown and causes the psychosomatic illness. So people who are in the presence of dominant personalities, past or present, will develop either patterns of irrational behaviour or psychosomatic illnesses. And these psychosomatic illnesses will be aches, pains, can be skin complaints, can be blood pressure, can be heart attacks. And if you think about it, you'll quite often find that people who have heart attacks are connected to dominant matrimonial partners. And the cause of their blood pressure and the cause of the stress is constant aggro up against the other partner. There are illnesses which are not psychosomatic illnesses, also are germ illnesses, but as you say, 70 to 80% of illnesses are psychosomatic. They are the solution to a problem. The problem is always another person, not a thing. It always can be located to another person. But that person may be a re-stimulation of somebody early in their life, or it may be the person themselves. So either you've got to locate the person earlier in their life, or you must get them away. If it is the person in their immediate environment, you must get them away from that person. Otherwise, their own destruction will result. Eventually, they'll be carted off to a psychiatric clinic and given all kinds of funny treatment. And people who are in a totally exhausted state as a result of matrimonial breakup, as a result of long-term strife against the dominant personality, can become the third type, where everybody in their environment seems to be selling them off. Wherever they go, they're getting psychosomatic illnesses and often developing irrational behaviour. All you can do with those people is put them on light sedatives initially, and get them into a neutral environment, get them to a place where there's open air, where there's sea, where there's some kind of physical work to be done, and you'll find that they will get better. But what shouldn't happen to these people, they shouldn't be wheeled off to psychiatric hospitals and experimented on with drugs and various forms of unproven treatment.